going to be talking about is peace and safety, then suddenly destruction. Have y'all noticed this too? I watched a video earlier today. You know, they was talking about the blowing shofar. In Israel. They've been talking about the two-state solution. For Israel and the Palestinian state or something like that. The two-state solution. Have y'all noticed that? Have y'all noticed that too? They're talking about creating a two-state solution. They've been talking about that peace and safety lately too. That two-state solution. They already been. This been coming up a whole lot too. The peace and safety. They've been talking about this for a while. It speaks about that in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. And I'm going to go ahead and read this to y'all too. Because I noticed this too. I've been wanting to say this for a long time. I wonder why is the church is not telling people on the pews. I noticed this. I'm going to go ahead and read this because this needs to be said. Why is the church not talking about this? The peace and safety, then suddenly destruction. Why is the church not bringing this up on the pews? I'm going to go ahead and say this. And it says, 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, New King James Version said, for when they say peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. I'm telling you, if this does not sound like we're living in the last days, I'm telling you, it is really time to wake up. I'm telling you, time is short. We are living in the last days. The church really needs to wake up. I know y'all see this. And I don't want to hear nobody going around here and talking about we ain't see this. But y'all can sit back and talk about the Super Bowl all day long. But you can sit back and talk about ball games. But you mean to tell me you ain't see this? But you can sit back and talk about the Super Bowl and BET Awards or MTV and VH1. You know what I'm talking about. I know y'all know about that shofar. I know yesterday what I watched on YouTube, yesterday, the Rosh Hashanah. I watched that Rosh Hashanah video yesterday. Yesterday was that Rosh Hashanah, that Jewish holiday. I watched that yesterday. Today, I think they're talking about blowing that shofar or something like that. The two-state solution. They're talking about the two-state solution. They're trying to turn Israel into a two-state solution for Israel and the Palestinian state. I'm telling you, they already talking about peace and safety. I want to know is the church paying any attention to this either? They're talking about peace and safety. Are they even seeing this? Because, I watched that Rosh Hashanah video yesterday too on YouTube video. Because yesterday was the Jewish holiday, the Rosh Hashanah. I'm telling you. They'll let you know time is short. They'll let you know we're living in the last days. It is really time for the church to wake up. I'm going to go read this scripture. I'm going to read this scripture one more time about 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, New King James Version. And it says, for when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. We're talking about peace and safety because this is a peace and safety video. And I'm going to read Daniel 9:27 New King James Version. And it said, then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the and on the hold on the wing of abomination shall be one who makes desolate, even unto the consummation which is determined is poured out on the desolate. We're talking about Daniel chapter 9 verse 27. I'm telling you, we're living in a time now. It sounds like the last days. They trying to, I know y'all know about the third temple too. I know y'all heard about the third temple. I know y'all heard about the two-state solution. Two-state. Israel and Palestinian. Yeah, they're talking about peace and safety and then sudden destruction. This is why it's time to wake up. This is why I'm talking about. They're trying to turn Israel into a two-state solution. They're trying to get Israel to share her land. Israel and Palestinian. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is what this video is all about. Peace and safety and then sudden destruction. I'm telling you, we're living in a time now. It's time to wake up. Because the whole world is going to turn their back on Israel. It says it in the Bible. They're going to turn their back on Israel. Because the only one that's going to save Israel is God. Because Jesus. Because Jesus Christ is their Messiah. They true Messiah. Only Jesus going to save Israel. Because I'm telling you, just look what's going on. Because the whole world is going to gather up against Israel. It says it in the Bible. Just look all this stuff is coming to pass. Why you think that all this two-state solution going on right now with that peace and safety going on? They all gonna go up against Israel, including the United States of America. They're gonna turn their back on Israel. We're in the last days. It's sad. No time is short. Why you think all this shofar going on around here? Why you think the Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah was yesterday. Why you think all this two-state solution, and they trying to get Israel to split her land, to try to get Israel to share her land with the Palestinians? Because I'm telling you, sad. Because the whole world is going to turn its back on Israel. Sad. I'm telling you. That's all I got to say. What will you do? What will you do? Who will you stand? Are you going to stand for Israel, or are you going to stand for that other person? Are you going to stand for Palestinian? I already made my choice. I'm going to stand for Israel. I'm going to stand for Israel because those are God's chosen people. And I'm just going to tell you straight up. And I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. I'm going to stand for Israel because those are God's chosen people. I just told you the truth. And I'm not ashamed to tell it. That's all I got to say. Not afraid to tell you the truth. Not afraid to tell you the truth.